Good evening and good afternoon if you happen to be in Pretoria. My name is Wesahana Pearson and I'm recording for Black Asia Magazine. Right now I'm talking to a woman that I sort of know just from our extended Black expat family out here in Asia. And normally you live in Hong Kong, but you're not in Hong Kong at the moment. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
All right, so first for the interview, can you tell us your name?
My name is Eli Zaelo, and so as you said, I'm a singer based in Hong Kong.
Okay, and right now you're not in Hong Kong, but can you tell us where you grew up and where you live now?
So I'm from Pretoria, South Africa, and that's where I am right now. I came home for the month of August. So yeah, I'm just enjoying the transition from I guess winter to spring right now. So it's almost sunny but cold. So that's my situation right now.
Okay. And so so you're going back to Hong Kong after about another month or so, kind of like on a vacation.
Right. So I'll be in Hong Kong around October or so.
Okay. How long have you lived in Hong Kong?
I've been in Hong Kong for about 5 years. I've lived in Hong Kong about 5-6 years.
Okay. Before we get into your life in Hong Kong, can we take a step back into your background? And can you give us a picture of what it was like for you growing up in Pretoria?
Okay, so I really grew up in a very close-knit family. I'm very close to my cousins, to my parents. I was the type of child, like, in the mornings I would just barge into my parents' room and just we'd talk about dreams or fill each other in on everything. So I grew up in a very loving environment. I grew up as the only daughter, and I have 2 brothers, middle child as well. And so what can I say? My mom has always been very kind of, my personality is just really split right down in the middle between my parents. My mom is more, how could I put it? I wouldn't say serious, but she's more academic, more focused, more, she's like boss lady mentality. My dad is, he was the sense of humor kind of guy, loved music a lot. So all of that. So my personality is really a split between the two. I've learned so much from both of my parents.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that with us. So 5 years ago, you went to Hong Kong. What brought you to Hong Kong? Was it a scholarship? Was it music? How did you come to be there?
So I actually landed the role of Nala in the Lion King musical for Disneyland, Hong Kong Disneyland. So that was an audition in Johannesburg. So a friend of mine texted me this one morning. He's like, "Did you know that the Lion King auditions are back?" And I said, "Okay, you know what? I'll try my luck." So I went all the way to Joburg, and I think I was second to last in terms of auditions. I arrived there, but by the time I got to sing, it was, pretty late and dark outside. So, that was the experience. I gave it my all. I was like, oh, the casting director's probably tired by now, but let me just do my best. And that's what I did. And 3 months later, I got the call. That was around October 2014 and 2015. I then moved to Hong Kong.
All right. So to work on this production of The Lion King.
Yes.
What was that like? Because I've seen it in New York. It's a famous story play all over the world. Can you tell us some things about what that was like being in that kind of a production?
Well, the Hong Kong version, the Hong Kong Disneyland version is a little bit different to the Broadway version. Okay. But, just to be part of such a brand, a groundbreaking and powerful musical was a dream come true, really. I've always wanted to be Nala. You know, my family knows this. Actually, I have a little story that I kind of share from time to time, that I used to have a poster, or I wrote like a big sign in my room that said Nala. And so for about 6 months, I would wake up to just seeing this thing that I am Nala, I am Nala. So it was so drilled in my head that by the time I got to the audition space, I just felt like I'm here to get what's mine. You know, I had that kind of mentality towards it. And then when I arrived, it was so, you know, I mean, it's Disney. It was like so top scale, really large production, different people to report to, choreographers, all of that. It was, I mean, at the time I was about 21. So it was exciting, but also overwhelming. But I was just like, you know, a kid in a candy store. I was just eager. I was so hungry. I was so excited. So it was really, really an unforgettable experience. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Great insights. Moving a little bit ahead, culture shock. Moving from having lived your entire life on the continent of Africa until 21, and then jumping up and moving to the continent of Asia. How did you handle that mentally, physically, emotionally? Are there any stories, anecdotes you can tell? How was it jumping from one environment to the other?
Well, I'd like to say that when I was 19, I actually moved to the States.
Okay.
And then I moved to Pasadena, California.
Oh,
so I did a short music course there.
I'm from New York.
Why, do you want to say something?
I'm from New York. California is the other side.
Oh.
I've never been exactly there. I've been to California once, but not to cut you off. Oh yeah, please continue. So you had been abroad before, but
yeah. I went to New York once. I was visiting a friend who was an au pair there. We went to the same high school, and I just wanted to see like the Times Square. So I just saved up. I'm like, I'm coming there just to see, you know, Times Square. And it was really, really cold, but I really enjoyed it. It was like 3 days, but at least I touched the soil of New York.
okay.
So anyway, so in California, my housemates, actually, it was like a house, and like a 3-bedroom house, and each of us had our own room, you know, like sharing the living room and the kitchen and all of that. And so I actually lived with, one was from Korea. My one roommate was from Korea, and the other she was half Filipino, half Japanese. So I think that was my first kind of living situation, or sharing an environment with people of Asian descent. So by the time I moved to Hong Kong, it wasn't too shocking, because, you know, they were the first people to teach me how to eat with chopsticks. You know, I got to learn the different food from them, and it was really fun, because that was my foundation for cultural exchange. You know, in addition to the school, of course, you know, America is very multicultural, so it wasn't, you know, you make different friends. You especially at the school I was at, the college I was at, it was very, because it's so small, there were more expats than there were Americans. So it was just like every day was just like learning different cultures. Everybody had a story to share about this, that, or the other, how everybody was adapting to America. Everybody had their own stories, and it was really fun, actually. And then by the time I was 21, so after that, I moved back home for a few months. That's when I did the audition. And then I went to Hong Kong. And when I got there, I would say that the biggest shock, I think, for me was being a minority. I know it's the same kind of in America, but, you know, I mean, my whole life, at that time, for about 20 years, I was used to being the majority, you know. So that was the first kind of thing, you know, being the only Black person on the train, or being, you know, just sticking out. It was different for me. It was different.
Can I ask very quickly, like in South Africa, I know there's a number of ethnic groups there. Can I ask which one you're from?
So my mother is Tswana and my dad is Zulu.
Okay.
So yeah. So But because I grew up in Pretoria, it's more Tswana dominant, so I speak more Tswana. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So going to Hong Kong, you were no longer the majority. You were the only black face that you could see in an ocean of Chinese people or in Asian people.
Right.
Okay.
Except when I was in the, the living space, the living apartment that Disney got for us, then a few colleagues were, from South Africa or were African American as well. So that was okay. But when I'm exploring by myself, which I like to do, I was just like, let me get on this train, MTR situation and see Hong Kong for myself. And wow, it was just something else, because I just felt like I stuck out so much, and I was like, oh my goodness. I hope, people won't be, I don't know. I hope people will be okay with me talking to them, asking questions and stuff like that. And a few people were, but some were just like, why are you talking to me? Which is another difference, because in South Africa, everybody feels like family. You can stop any stranger. Sometimes even before COVID, you could even pick up a stranger's child and they would be flattered. They would actually think that, wow, you think my baby's cute. That's how it is in South Africa. And actually I did that in Hong Kong as well, but with a black baby. Mm-hmm. So the dad was like chasing after the baby, and then the baby came towards me and I picked up the baby and the dad was just okay with it. Yeah. So those slight differences where in South Africa, you feel like maybe a bit too comfortable with everyone. But that's all I've ever known, So when I went to Asia, it felt a little bit more like you have to find your way. But, along the way, I met some really great people who really helped me to learn a little bit more about Hong Kong and the way of life. And now I like it there. I really do, because I've found my way to kind of, have my own way of being there. I'm no longer working for Disney. It was great while it lasted, but I had to kind of step out and do what I've always wanted to do, which is just to be a recording artist, a performer of my original music. It took me some time to kind of understand what exactly I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. But then, there's always that thing in life or in any field, I guess, where you just kind of like, well, this is what the industry is, and how do I find my place in it? Or, do I conform? Do I not? Do I come as myself? Do I not? All those questions, So I had some time where I could ask myself those questions. And when I arrived at the answers, I decided to go into the studio. And so right now, I guess my day job would be that I sing around Hong Kong, different venues, weddings, hotels, you name it. And I also teach musical theater and drama to the youth. So
Okay.
that would be my quote unquote day job. And then I'm also a performing artist of my own music. Yeah. So I'm a multilingual artist.
Mhm.
I sing in Chinese, and then I also sing in English and African styles.
All right. So with your Chinese, is that Mandarin or is that Cantonese?
You know what? It's Mandarin. I'm
Okay.
just gonna yeah.
Right.
So
How was it like? What was it like for you going there and learning Mandarin? I think how long did that take you to be able to pick it up and pick it up well enough to be able to sing in that language?
so I actually started learning Mandarin when I was in South Africa,
Okay.
right before. Oh, so after I left Disney, so I talked about that period when I was trying to figure myself out a little bit. I moved back home again for about a year, and then I went back to to sing at the venues and to be, a teacher as well. So during that year period, I got with a Taiwanese tutor. Actually, she's still here. I'm gonna meet her for lunch soon, I hope, before I go. She's become quite a good friend. So yeah, she's from Taiwan, and she so I took my basic course with her, and she's the one who taught me my first Mandarin song. And I found that singing it came so much more easier for me, because first of all, being in South Africa, we have 11 official languages. So
Yeah.
I grew up having to pick up different languages or sounds very quickly, because there are some languages that I understand and I have no idea how I understand it, except maybe TV programs and stuff. So I can, speak to different tribes or understand what they're saying at the very least, because of just being in an environment where you have to constantly keep learning different languages. And when I was in the States as well, we had a world music class where literally the course was about us learning songs in different languages, languages that we had never spoken before. We had to learn a song in Creole. We had to learn a song in, Portuguese, all sorts of languages. And I think that helped as well. It helped because I know when I'm doing covers, Chinese covers, I know certain tricks that could help me learn it a little bit faster. But at the same time, I genuinely like Mandarin. I like the way it sounds. So it's, I think especially when it comes to ballads and R&B, I think it's really beautiful. It comes across so nicely musically. So I'm a lifetime student of Mandarin. So I don't think I could ever say I am so, fluent and efficient and proficient in Mandarin. I don't think I will ever get to that point.
If I want to enjoy one of your performances, how would I go about that? Is there, do you have a website? Is there a place where I can go to learn about the things that you're doing? Anything like that?
So currently right now, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But I definitely want to work on something that's a little bit more, like you're saying, more like a gig guide and things of that nature. So that's what I'm putting together while I'm here, because I'm looking at what is ahead for the rest of the year. So I want to kind of pack it all together and say, you know what, guys, for the rest of the year, this is where you could find me. But for now, just Instagram, social media. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely post your Instagram page down at the bottom.
Thank you.
No, of course, thank you. Looking at kind of like a side note, we are still in the era of COVID-19. It just seems like it's lagging and dragging. It keeps continuing on and on. As far as you know, how has COVID-19 affected your industry there in Hong Kong?
I mean, it was just like a never-ending wave, when you're just stuck in the middle of the sea and it just keeps coming and coming and coming. You just don't know when it's going to stop. It was just it was horrible. I don't want to even mince words here. It was really bad because it was like no live music at all, which for a musician, of course, it sucks. But then you understand the other side of the coin that, you know, music attracts large crowds and all of that. So it was very hard to, it was a very conflicting feeling because this is your livelihood, this is your passion, this is what you want to do. But at the same time, the situation just doesn't permit it. So it was very hard. I watched so many people really kind of even move away from Hong Kong and because luckily I had the teaching job, so I could stay afloat. But some people were just relying on music. So it was horrible to see my friends and fellow musicians go through that. It was really bad to not be able to consistently do that. But that was the time in which I got to the studio because we had all this time. So I went to the studio and started recording my own original music. But, you know, performance-wise as well, when we, luckily live music is back in Hong Kong now, but when we started getting back into it, it was like, you know, like, what is it called? Like cracking your neck.
Yeah, you were
sick. You like,
you kind of lost that sort of natural feeling that you had before COVID, where you could just step on stage and something would come out of you almost like magic. And after, like, I know what you mean. Coming back from COVID and reestablishing your routine. Okay, I got you. 我的眼更重要，我去过哪过哪过哪，我感到害怕，到害怕，到害怕，但我保证，保证，保证。 Yes, so it kind of brings a closeness to Black people in Hong Kong, right? Because when I'm in South Africa, in Pretoria, most of the people I engage with and most of the people around me, all my neighbors, every cashier, everybody speaks my language. Everybody speaks Tswana because that's the dominant tribe here, you know, and people who come to Pretoria end up picking up Tswana because most of the local people in Pretoria speak Tswana. So you don't really, you know, it's you don't really get to, I don't know, learn so much more about the wider world because your world is so accommodative to exactly who you are. It's so kind of like you're in a bubble in Pretoria. It can feel like you're in a bubble. Yeah, very familiar. Yes, in a good and a bad way, you know, because of course the bad side is that it can, I'm not saying it does for everybody, it can limit growth, but at the same time, it's a safe net, you know, it's a safety net, it's a safe space. Everybody feels like family, like I was saying before. So that's the positive side, you know, we hear music the same way, we enjoy the same kind of food. So that's the positive side. Nobody feels odd. But in Hong Kong, I'm happy that I got to now try Nigerian food, which I hadn't done before, or, you know, all sorts of things like that. So I'm just going to start with that it brought a closeness to the African community or the Black community at large. I felt more, I felt the opportunity to stretch my heart, my space, my knowledge a little bit more to other Black people other than just the people that I know, because it's not just the Asians who are different to us. Even within the Black community, we have our differences from one another. Yeah, I know that. So you know what I mean? So I know exactly what you mean. It's great to, so it's great to kind of have to be in a space where we now
focus on our similarities because we are walking through the streets of Asia or Hong Kong, essentially representing one another. So as a Black woman, that has been interesting and challenging at the same time. Interesting because like you literally are a representation of a whole race wherever you go. That's also really challenging because, you know, you don't really get to, I don't know, you don't really get to be an individual when you're outside of the Black space. Sometimes I feel, but yeah, it's also nice because you stand out for good things. You know, you are, I don't know, there's just something so beautiful and regal about Blackness to me. So as a Black woman, I tend to really sit in that and walk in that a little bit more because I'm aware that I'm representing more people than myself.
Okay. Knowing the city of Hong Kong as you do, what other industries do you see Black people participating in? Jobs, things like that?
I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially within the food industry, food and beverage. There are a lot of Africans who have their own, you know, ethnic food. So I see that a lot.
For example, you mentioned Nigerian. Have you noticed any South African restaurants there? Because I don't think I've ever seen one in all my travels. I really don't have an idea of what South African cuisine is. Have you noticed that there? Do they have it?
Yeah, I think it's just different because South Africans usually travel because they got offered a job, or it's rare for a South African to just backpack and go somewhere. It's really, really rare, as I've found. So usually South Africans are there because they had a contract to be there. Whereas a lot of West Africans are like, you know what, I'm gonna explore the world. I'm gonna see what life has for me. So it's I think that's why there's a difference, you know, because when they arrive,
Nigerian, Ghanaian, Cameroonian, these kind of restaurants, Ivorian restaurants.
Oh yes.
All right. Moving towards the end of the interview and looking ahead towards the future. What are your plans for the immediate future, short-term, midterm, and long-term goals looking ahead?
I am so excited for the short-term goal that I'm about to do. So since I've been home, I've been inspired a lot, you know, in terms of music. So I'll be heading to the studio like 2 days from now. And, you know, I thought to myself, you know, I can release a single this month, even though it's like so quick and everything, but I'm going to do the song and the video and all of that. And I already found the dancers, the videographer and all of that. And at first, like, my family was like, what? And my manager was like, are you sure you don't want to rest or something? But I was like, you know what? Beyonce recorded B-Day in 2 weeks, a full album. I think I can do one single, you know? So, yeah, of course, I'm a proud member of the Beehive. So, so yeah, it's one of those things. So that's what I'm working on right now. But at the same time, I'm also working on a collaboration that's going to come out when I get back to Hong Kong with a really great band, Chinese band, and I'm really looking forward to that. So those are the two things that I would say I'm working on right now. And anything else is just kind of to promote that, you know, those two projects. And yeah, I think that's what I can talk about for now.
Okay, the rest of it is a secret.
Yeah. It's a secret, yeah.
Understood. Yeah. All right. When your single drops, make sure to get that over to us and we'll post that up online and make sure people see it. And make sure it brings more people to our website to see it also.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'll do that.
Okay, final thoughts, wrapping up. Anything you'd like to say or promote or plug or tell us about?
I definitely want to come to Taiwan. Yeah. I don't know if that's me promoting anything, but so I'm just like always on the lookout for opportunities to come to Taiwan, because I feel like especially with Mandopop, it's such a booming industry, and place to be.
What
So
is
maybe
that?
that
I've
would be
never heard of that. What is
long-term
Mandopop? What's that? I don't know about this.
Mandarin pop. Yeah.
I know
So
K-pop, I know J-pop, Mandopop. Okay, all right, okay. Okay.
yeah, and actually the biggest stars are based in Taiwan.
Okay.
So the artists I listen to are based in Taiwan. So the industry, it's like it's really, 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 really booming in Taiwan. So not even booming, but really big.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I guess that's something I would want to talk about as a long-term goal. I'm looking into Taiwan, like seriously looking into it. So I wish COVID would just allow next year to be a little bit better, so I can make my way to Taiwan. Maybe this year, we'll never know.
Okay.
We'll never know.
All right, I'll find out. I'll research some things about Mandopop and I'll get back to you with what I find out with my findings.
Yes, please. Or any events. I'd be
Okay.
happy to drop by. Yeah.
Okay, all right, got you. Okay, very good. Okay, so Eli Zaelo.
Yes.
Eli Zaelo, thank you for speaking with us at Black Asian Magazine. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.